The cold was the first thing Hyunki felt. It crawled through his bones like ice water, making his muscles shake as warmth slowly returned to his body. The cryopod hissed as it opened, releasing 50 years of frozen sleep into the recycled air of the starship. Hyunki's eyes opened slowly. The ceiling above him was metal, dark and covered with frost. Red lights blinked in patterns he had forgotten. His throat felt like sandpaper when he tried to speak. Only a rough whisper came out. "Soo-jin," he called to the ship's computer. "Status report." A soft female voice answered him. The AI had been his companion for 20 years before the long sleep. "Welcome back, Captain. You have been in cryosleep for 53 years, 4 months, and 16 days. 50 years. The number hit him like a punch to the chest. Hyunki sat up slowly, his head spinning. The cryo chamber was exactly as he remembered it. Banks of sleeping pods stretched out in rows, each one holding a member of his crew. 50,000 people all waiting for the right moment to wake up. "Why did you wake me now?" Hyunki asked. He stood on shaky legs and walked to the nearest control panel. His reflection in the dark screen showed a man who looked exactly the same as 50 years ago. Cryosleep stopped aging, but it could not stop the weight of time itself. "The activation conditions have been met," Soo-jin replied. "The Dominion has located the last human colonies. They are under attack. Estimated time until complete human extinction is 42 hours. The words made Hyunki's blood turn cold. He had known this day would come. When they built the Baekdu and hid it in this dead system, they knew humanity's enemies would not stop hunting. The alien coalition called the Dominion had already destroyed most human worlds. Earth's colonies were all that remained. "Show me," Hyunki said. The wall screens came alive with images that made his heart sink. Dominion warships surrounded 3 human colonies. The aliens fired their weapons without mercy. Human ships tried to fight back, but they were too few and too weak. Civilian transports burned in space like dying stars. "How many colonies are left?" Hyunki asked, though he feared the answer. 3 colonies remain active. Colony ship Sejong with 800,000 civilians. Research station Dokdo with 50,000 scientists. Mining platform Ulsan with 200,000 workers. No other human settlements show signs of life. Less than 2 million humans left in the entire galaxy. Hyunki closed his eyes and remembered when Earth alone had 10 billion people. The Dominion had been thorough in their genocide. "What about Earth?" he asked quietly. Soo-jin was silent for a long moment. "Earth was destroyed 3 years ago. Complete planetary bombardment. No survivors detected." Hyunki gripped the control panel until his knuckles turned white. Earth was gone. The birth world of humanity, reduced to space dust by alien weapons. His family, his friends, everyone he had ever known before joining the Space Navy, all dead. "Captain," Soo-jin said gently, "you need to see this." The main screen showed a recording from Earth's final days. Dominion ships filled the sky like a plague of metal insects. They fired beam weapons that turned cities into glass. The oceans boiled away. The atmosphere burned. In 3 days they had killed every living thing on the planet. The Dominion sent this message to all human colonies afterward, Soo-jin continued. A new image appeared, a reptilian alien with cold yellow eyes. Its voice was like grinding metal when it spoke. "Humans of the galaxy," the alien said, "your homeworld is dead. Your species is finished. We are the Dominion and we bring order to chaos. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." Hyunki stared at the alien's face and felt something break inside him. Not his spirit, that was made of stronger stuff. What broke was his last connection to mercy. The Dominion wanted to end humanity. Now humanity would end them. "Wake up Jaemin and Yuna," Hyunki ordered. "Emergency revival. I need my tactical officer and chief engineer." "Yes, Captain." While the cryopods containing his key officers began their wake-up cycles, Hyunki walked to the observation deck. Through the thick glass, he could see the asteroid field where they had hidden for 50 years. The Baekdu was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid invisible to enemy sensors, but it was time to come out of hiding. The ship around him was humanity's greatest achievement and their final hope. The Baekdu was not just a warship, it was a star destroyer. 3 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack planets. Its quantum core could bend space and time. Most importantly, it was built with technology stolen from the Dominion themselves. When the aliens first attacked human space, they were confident and careless. They never imagined that humans could learn so quickly. Every battle taught humanity something new about alien technology. Every defeat showed them how to build better weapons. The Bekdu was the result of 20 years of desperate learning. Jamin stumbled onto the bridge 30 minutes later, still shaking from cryo-sleep. He was a thin man with sharp eyes and quick hands. In the old days, he could calculate firing solutions faster than most computers. "Captain," Jamin said, saluting weakly, "what's our situation?" "We're the last military unit humanity has," Hyun-Ki replied. "The Dominion is finishing what they started." Yuna arrived a few minutes later. She was small but tough, with grease under her fingernails and fire in her eyes. She had built half the systems on the Bekdu with her own hands. "The quantum core is stable," she reported automatically. "All weapon systems are ready. We can start killing aliens whenever you want, Captain." Hyun-Ki nodded. His crew understood what they were facing. They had always known this moment would come. The three of them stood on the bridge of humanity's most powerful weapon, looking out at a galaxy that wanted their species dead. "Sujin," Hyun-Ki said, "begin Operation Ghost. It's time to remind the galaxy why they should have killed every last human when they had the chance." The Bekdu's engines came online for the first time in 50 years. The Star Destroyer began to move through the asteroid field like a sleeping giant opening its eyes. Somewhere in the distance, human colonies were dying. But soon, very soon, the Dominion would learn what it meant to face an angry human with nothing left to lose. The hunt was about to begin. The Bekdu moved through space like a ghost made of metal and hate. 3 weeks had passed since Captain Hyun-Ki woke from his long sleep. 3 weeks of careful planning and quiet rage. Now it was time to strike back. "Target acquired," Jamin reported from his tactical station. "Dominion supply convoy. 12 cargo ships with 4 escort vessels. They're carrying weapons to the siege fleet at Colony Dokdo." Hyun-Ki studied the enemy formation on the main screen. The alien ships looked like metal insects with too many legs. Their hulls were dark gray and covered with weapon ports. For 50 years, these ships had ruled the galaxy without challenge. "Distance?" Hyun-Ki asked. 2 million kilometers and closing," Jamin replied. "They haven't detected us yet." The Bekdu's stealth systems were beyond anything the Dominion had ever seen. The ship could bend light around itself and mask its energy signature. To enemy sensors, they were just another piece of space debris floating in the void. Yuna looked up from her engineering console. "Quantum torpedoes are ready, Captain. The new warheads should punch right through their shields." "Good," Hyun-Ki said. "Remember, we hit fast and disappear faster. No survivors, no witnesses." Mireille, the intelligence analyst they had woken up the week before, monitored enemy communications from her station. She was young but brilliant, with an ear for alien languages and a mind for strategy. "The convoy is transmitting routine status reports," Mireille said. "They think they're safe in Dominion space. They're talking about shore leave and bonuses for the siege operation." Hyun-Ki felt his jaw tighten. These aliens were planning their vacations while human children died in the colonies. The Dominion saw genocide as just another job. "All stations prepare for attack," Hyun-Ki ordered. "Jamin, target their escort ships first." "Yuna, give me maximum power to weapons." "Yes, sir," both officers replied. The Bekdu moved closer to the convoy like a predator stalking prey. Its quantum core hummed with barely contained energy. The ship's weapons systems came online one by one, each more devastating than anything the aliens had faced before. "Range, 1 million kilometers," Jamin reported. "Firing solution locked. Do-hyun, prepare the new torpedoes," Hyun-Ki ordered. Do-hyun was the ship's weapons specialist, a quiet man with steady hands and cold eyes. He had lost his entire family when the Dominion glassed Earth. Since waking up, he had spent every moment perfecting ways to kill aliens more efficiently. "Quantum torpedoes armed and ready," Do-hyun said. "The new warheads will cause chain reactions in their shield generators. Should take out multiple ships with each hit." "Fire," Hyun-Ki commanded. 6 torpedoes shot out from the Bekdu's hidden launch tubes. They moved faster than light itself, riding waves in space-time. The Dominion escorts never saw them coming. The first torpedo hit the lead escort ship and did something impossible. Instead of exploding, it made the ship's shields turn against itself. The alien vessel was crushed by its own defensive systems. The second escort ship tried to run, but the chain reaction jumped to its shields too. Both ships died in seconds. "By the void," Mireille whispered, listening to alien panic on the radio. "They don't understand what's happening to them." The cargo ships scattered like frightened animals. But the Bekdu was faster than fear. Hyun-Ki ordered another torpedo barrage. The quantum warheads found their targets and began their deadly work. One by one, the supply ships vanished in flashes of twisted spacetime. All targets destroyed, Jaemin reported. No enemy survivors detected. Stealth systems back online, Yuna added. We're invisible again, Hyun-Ki nodded with satisfaction. 12 ships destroyed in less than 5 minutes, and the Baekdu had used weapons the Dominion could not understand. To them, it would look like their convoy had simply stopped existing. Set course for the next target, Hyun-Ki ordered. Sujin, what else is in this sector? Scanning, the AI replied. There is a Dominion communication relay 30 light-years from here. It coordinates fleet movements across this entire region. Perfect, Hyun-Ki said. If we destroy it, their siege fleets will be blind and deaf. The Baekdu jumped through spacetime to its next target. The communication relay was a massive structure built around a small moon. Hundreds of antenna arrays pointed in every direction, carrying the orders that kept the Dominion war machine running. Heavy defenses, Jaemin warned. 20 warships on patrol, orbital defense platforms, fighter squadrons. They're transmitting attack orders to the siege fleets, Mireille reported, her voice tight with anger. The colonies have maybe 6 hours before they fall. Hyun-Ki stared at the enemy base and made his decision. We're going in. All weapons, maximum firepower. Yuna, push the quantum core beyond safe limits. Captain, Yuna said carefully, if we do that, we might tear a hole in space itself. Good, Hyun-Ki replied. Let them see what happens when they threaten humanity. The Baekdu dropped its stealth and appeared in the middle of the enemy formation like an avenging angel. The Dominion ships turned toward this new threat, but they moved too slowly. Human reflexes and human anger were faster than alien caution. Do-hyun unleashed every weapon the Star Destroyer carried. Quantum torpedoes, plasma cannons, gravity bombs, and weapons that had no names, because humans had invented them just to kill aliens. The Dominion patrol fleet died before they could send a warning, but the orbital platforms were stronger. Their shields held against the first assault and they began firing back. Alien energy beams struck the Baekdu's hull, testing armor that had been built to withstand anything. Shields at 60%, Yuna reported. Hull breach on deck 12. Keep firing, Hyun-Ki ordered. Sujin, target the relay's main transmitter. Targeting solution locked, the AI replied. The Baekdu fired its main weapon, a quantum cannon that could punch holes through moons. The beam struck the communication relay and did something that made Yuna gasp with surprise. Captain, she said, the quantum discharge is spreading. It's not just destroying the relay, it's unmaking it, removing it from space-time entirely. The massive structure began to fade away like a bad dream. The quantum energy spread to the orbital platforms, making them vanish one by one. In minutes, the entire base had been erased from existence. Target eliminated, Jaemin reported, sounding odd. No debris, no radiation signature. It's like it was never there. Hyun-Ki felt a cold satisfaction. The Dominion communication network in this sector was gone. Their siege fleets would lose coordination just when they needed it most. Hae-jin, he called to the communications officer they had woken that morning. Are you picking up anything from the colonies? Hae-jin was a small woman with quick fingers and a sharp mind for signals intelligence. She had been monitoring Dominion transmissions since the attack began. Yes, sir, she said excitedly. The siege fleets are reporting communication failures. They're requesting new orders, but there's no one to answer them. Some ships are breaking off their attacks. And our people? Colony Docto is using the confusion to evacuate their research data. They're uploading everything to hidden servers before the aliens can steal it. Hyun-Ki nodded. Humanity's knowledge would survive even if the people did not. But maybe with the Baekdu's help both could be saved. Set course for the Vega system, he ordered. There's a Dominion fuel depot there. Time to teach them that their supply lines are no longer safe. As the Star Destroyer jumped away from the battle site, Hyun-Ki looked around at his small crew. They were tired but determined, ready to fight impossible odds for their dying species. Sir, Mireille said quietly, I'm detecting encrypted transmissions from human resistance cells. Word is spreading that someone is fighting back. Let it spread, Hyun-Ki replied. Let every human in the galaxy know that Earth's children are not finished yet. The Baekdu vanished into the darkness between stars, carrying humanity's vengeance toward its next target. 2 months had passed since the Baekdu began its silent war against the Dominion. Across the galaxy, Alien supply convoys vanished without trace. Communication relays stopped working. Fuel depots exploded in ways that violated the laws of physics. The Dominion's iron grip on the galaxy was starting to crack. Captain Hyun-Ki stood in the ship's war room, studying a holographic map of Dominion space. Red dots marked enemy strongholds, while blue dots showed the locations of their successful raids. There were a lot of blue dots now. 17 major supply lines disrupted, reported Mireille from her intelligence station. The Dominion is having trouble keeping their occupation forces supplied. Some garrison fleets are running low on fuel. Good, Hyun-Ki said. What about the resistance movements? Mireille smiled for the first time in weeks. That's the interesting part, sir. We're getting coded transmissions from 12 different star systems. Human resistance groups are becoming active again. They're calling the attacks ghost strikes and saying that Earth's spirit has returned. Sunho had been the leader of the human resistance on Kepler 442b before the Baekdu found him. The aliens had been using his world as a slave labor camp, forcing humans to mine rare metals for their war machine. But Sunho had kept hope alive in the work camps, whispering stories of human courage to anyone who would listen. Captain, Hyojin called from her communications post. We're receiving a transmission from Kepler 442b. It's Sunho's resistance cell. The main screen flickered to life, showing a thin man with scars on his face and fire in his eyes. Behind him, dozens of other humans crowded around a hidden transmitter. They looked tired and beaten, but they were still fighting. To whoever is out there, Sunho said, we know you're real. The aliens are scared. Their patrols have doubled, and they're moving their weapon stockpiles every few days. Whatever you're doing, it's working. The slaves are starting to believe again. Hyun-Ki felt his chest tighten. These people had suffered for decades under alien rule, but they had not given up. They deserved to know that humanity's greatest weapon was fighting for them. Open a channel, Hyun-Ki ordered. Encrypt it with the old resistance codes. The connection was established, and Sunho's eyes widened when he saw Hyun-Ki's face. This is Captain Hyun-Ki of the Earth Defense Force, Hyun-Ki said. We're coming for you. Keep your people ready. Earth Defense Force? Sunho whispered. But Earth is gone. The aliens told us, and Earth is gone, Hyun-Ki confirmed. But Earth's children are not. We have one ship, and we're using it to remind the galaxy what happens when you try to kill all the humans. Sunho's face broke into the first real smile he had worn in years. How many ships do you need? We have 3,000 people here ready to fight. Just one ship, Hyun-Ki replied. But it's a very special ship. Meanwhile, in the deepest parts of Dominion space, the alien leadership was meeting an emergency session. The hegemony's ruling council gathered in their fortress capital, while the swarm's queen minds connected through their hive network. Both species were becoming seriously worried. Supreme Admiral Vorthak, the reptilian commander who had ordered Earth's destruction, stood before the combined alien leadership. His yellow eyes were filled with frustration and growing fear. The attacks are not random, Vorthak reported. They follow a pattern. The unknown enemy targets our supply lines first, then our communication networks, then our isolated bases. It's classic human tactical doctrine. Impossible, hissed the Hegemarchy's prime minister. All human military forces were destroyed. We made sure of that. Then explain this, Vorthak said, activating a holographic display. In the past 2 months, we have lost 67 supply convoys, 43 communication relays, and 28 fuel depots. The losses follow human strategic thinking exactly. Queen Mind Existhak of the Swarm spoke through her biomechanical translator. Our analysis indicates the presence of advanced quantum weaponry. The technology appears to be human in origin, but enhanced beyond our current understanding. Enhanced how? Asked the Prime Minister. The humans appear to have learned from our technology and improved it, Queen Mind Existhak replied. Their weapons can cause chain reactions in our shield systems. Their stealth technology is superior to anything in our fleet. Most concerning, they appear to be manipulating space-time itself. Back on the Baekdu, Dr. Yoon Seo was discovering exactly how the Dominion had enhanced their understanding of human nature. She was the ship's chief scientist, a brilliant woman who had spent her career studying alien technology. What she found in the captured Dominion databanks made her blood run cold. Captain, she called over the ship's intercom, you need to see this immediately. Hyun-Ki hurried to the science lab where Yoon Seo had connected several captured Dominion computer cores to the ship's analysis systems. What did you find? he asked. Yunseo's face was pale with anger and disgust. The Dominion didn't just want to conquer humanity, Captain. They wanted to study us. Every battle we fought, every tactical innovation we made, every example of human courage or creativity, they recorded it all. She activated a holographic display showing thousands of files. Look at this. Human combat psychology analysis. Adaptive tactical responses in human military units. The science of human unpredictability. They have detailed studies of every major human military operation for the past century. Hyun-Ki stared at the files with growing horror. They were learning from us. More than that, Yunseo continued, they were planning to replicate us. Look at this project file. Operation Perfect Soldier. They wanted to create artificial beings with human tactical abilities but alien loyalty. Show me, Hyun-Ki demanded. The hologram changed to show the blueprints for a horrifying project. The Dominion had been planning to create armies of artificial soldiers based on human DNA and human military thinking. These creatures would have all of humanity's advantages in war but none of their independence or moral restraints. They were going to use our own nature against the rest of the galaxy. Yunseo said quietly, human tactical genius combined with absolute obedience to the Dominion. It would have made them unstoppable. Hyun-Ki felt something cold and terrible settle in his stomach. The genocide of humanity had not been about conquest or resources. It had been about stealing everything that made humans unique and using it as a weapon against other species. How close were they to completing this project? He asked. The research files indicate they needed more data on human psychological responses under extreme stress, Yunseo replied. That's why they've been keeping some human populations alive instead of killing them all immediately. The labor camps, the medical experiments, the interrogation centers, it's all been research. Every human who had suffered under Dominion rule had been unwillingly contributing to a project that would have enslaved the entire galaxy. The aliens had not just committed genocide, they had turned their victims into research subjects for the ultimate weapon. Captain, Jamin called from the bridge. We're detecting a massive Dominion fleet movement. 3,000 ships converging on our last known position. Hyun-Ki looked at the captured research files one more time, then made his decision. The Dominion had made a terrible mistake. They had studied human military tactics, but they had never understood human rage. All hands to battle stations, he ordered over the ship's intercom. This is no longer just about survival or revenge. The Dominion was planning to use our nature to enslave every free species in the galaxy. We're going to make sure that never happens. Tae-young, the ship's marine commander, had been listening to the conversation from the corridor. He was a big man with scars on his hands and fire in his heart. He had volunteered for the most dangerous boarding missions, always eager to face aliens in close combat. Sir, Tae-young said, give me a squad of Marines and a shuttle. Let me hit one of their research facilities. If they want to study humans under stress, I'll give them a very close look. Hyun-Ki smiled grimly. Approved, Commander. Show them what human stress really looks like. The Baekdu began preparing for its most dangerous operation yet. They were no longer just fighting to save the last human colonies. They were fighting to prevent their own nature from being turned into a weapon of galactic oppression. In the distance, the largest fleet the Dominion had ever assembled was moving toward them. But for the first time since waking up, Hyun-Ki was not worried about the odds. He had learned something important from the captured files. The aliens had studied human tactics for decades, but they had never understood the most important thing about humanity. Humans fought their hardest when they had something worth dying for. Now the Baekdu had found something worth fighting for that was bigger than survival itself. The alarms screamed through every corridor of the Baekdu as Captain Hyun-Ki made the most important decision of his life. The ship's cryo chambers began opening one by one, releasing clouds of frozen air and 50,000 sleeping warriors. Wake them all, Hyun-Ki ordered, his voice carrying across the ship's communication system. Every soldier, every technician, every cook and cleaner. We're going to need everyone. Won Jin, the chief medical officer, coordinated the massive awakening from the medical bay. He was an older man with steady hands and a calm voice, but even he looked worried as thousands of cryopods began their revival cycles. Captain, Won Jin reported, this is the largest simultaneous awakening ever attempted. Some people might not survive the shock. The alternative is that none of us survive, Hyun-Ki replied. Do your best, Doctor. Across the ship, 50,000 humans began to wake up from their long sleep. They had been soldiers and scientists, engineers and pilots, all volunteers who had agreed to sleep until humanity needed them most. That moment had finally come. Yuna worked frantically in the engine room, pushing the quantum core beyond every safety limit they had programmed. The massive reactor hummed with dangerous energy as she fed it more power than it was designed to handle. Quantum field stability at 30%, she reported to the bridge. If we push it any harder, we might tear a hole in space-time. How big a hole? Hyunki asked. Maybe big enough to swallow a star system, Yuna replied. Good to know. Keep pushing. On the tactical display, the Dominion fleet appeared like a swarm of angry insects. 3,000 warships, the largest military force ever assembled, moving toward the Baekdu's last known position. Supreme Admiral Vorthak commanded them personally from his flagship, determined to end the human threat once and for all. Xiong-ho took his place at the pilot's controls for the first time in 50 years. He was a small man with quick reflexes and an understanding of space that bordered on supernatural. Before the long sleep, he had been the only pilot crazy enough to fly experimental ships. Sir, Xiong-ho said, studying the navigation display. I have an idea. What if we don't run from their fleet? Explain, Hyunki ordered. The quantum core can bend space-time around us, Xiong-ho continued. I think I can use that to make the Baekdu move in ways that violate physics. We could be in multiple places at once, attack from impossible angles. Yuna looked up from her engineering console. That's insane. The stress on the ship's hull would be enormous. So is facing 3,000 enemy ships, Sung-ho replied. Dr. Yoon Seo had been analyzing the captured Dominion data for days, looking for weaknesses in their technology. What she found was better than weakness. It was a fatal flaw. Captain, she called from the science station, I've discovered something important about their quantum shields. The technology they copied from us has a built-in instability. If we hit them with the right frequency of quantum energy, their own shields will destroy them. How many ships can we take out with one shot? Hyunki asked. If the chain reaction spreads properly, Yunseo calculated, potentially hundreds at once. Meanwhile, in the deepest parts of the ship, 50,000 humans were waking up to a galaxy that had tried to erase their species. They came from every part of Earth that had existed, speaking different languages and following different customs, but united by one simple fact: they were humanity's last army. Commander Tae-young stood before a group of Marines who had just awakened from cryo-sleep. These were volunteers who had signed up knowing they might never see home again. Now home was gone and they were all that remained. Listen up, Tae-young said to his troops. While you were sleeping, the aliens finished what they started. Earth is gone. Our families are dead. The colonies are falling. We're all that's left. The Marines looked around at each other, processing the magnitude of their loss. Some wept quietly, others stared straight ahead with cold anger. But here's what the aliens don't understand, Tae-young continued. They think they've won because they killed our world. They don't realize they just created 50,000 humans with nothing left to lose. A young Marine named Jin Woo raised his hand. Sir, what are our orders? Simple, Tae-young replied. We're going to remind the galaxy why they should have killed every last human when they had the chance. On the bridge, the tactical situation was becoming clear. The Dominion fleet was massive, but it was also overconfident. They expected to find a single human ship running scared. Instead, they were about to face something unprecedented in galactic history. Sir, Jamin reported, I'm reading massive energy buildups across our weapon systems. Every gun, every torpedo launcher, every experimental device we've installed, it's all coming online. The Baekdu was transforming itself into something that had never existed before. Not just a warship, but a weapon that could rewrite the laws of physics themselves. The quantum core's energy flowed through systems that human engineers had built during 20 years of desperate innovation. Dominion fleet is at the edge of sensor range, Myray announced. They're broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies. Let me hear it, Hyunki ordered. Supreme Admiral Vorthak's voice filled the bridge, cold and confident. Unknown human vessel, you are completely surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Surrender now, and your death will be quick. Hyun-ki walked to the communications station and opened a channel to the enemy fleet. His response would be heard by every ship in the Dominion Armada. This is Captain Hyun-ki of the Earth Defense Force, he said calmly. You have made two mistakes, Admiral. First, you assumed that destroying our world would break our spirit. Second, you forgot that humans are very bad at surrendering. He nodded to He-Jin, who cut the transmission. All hands, Hyun-Ki announced over the ship's intercom. This is your captain. 50 years ago, we went to sleep believing that humanity had a future among the stars. We were wrong. The aliens wanted to kill us all, and they nearly succeeded. Throughout the ship, 50,000 humans listened to their captain's words. In the engine rooms, in the weapons bays, in the fighter launch tubes, Earth's children prepared for their final battle. But they made one critical error, Hyun-Ki continued. They left us alive long enough to get angry. Today we show them what that anger can do. Today we remind the galaxy that humans don't go quietly into the dark. The Baekdu began to change as Seong-ho activated the experimental navigation systems. The ship's hull shimmered as quantum energy bent space-time around it. To the approaching Dominion fleet, it looked like the human vessel was becoming something impossible. A ship that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Quantum displacement field active, Seong-ho reported. We're now existing in 17 different spatial coordinates simultaneously. Weapons range in 30 seconds, Jamin announced. Dr. Yoon Seo had programmed the quantum torpedoes with the frequency that would cause chain reactions in Dominion shields. Do-hyun had loaded every torpedo tube with the new warheads. Hyuna had pushed the quantum core to energy levels that should have been impossible. Sir, Won-jin called from the medical bay. Revival is complete. 50,000 humans are awake and ready for battle. We're taking some casualties from the rapid awakening, but morale is remarkable. Hyun-Ki smiled grimly. Of course morale was high. These people had volunteered to sleep until humanity needed them most. Now they were awake and they had work to do. Fleet is in range, Jamin reported. 3,000 enemy ships in attack formation. Fire everything, Hyun-Ki ordered. The Baekdu unleashed hell. Quantum torpedoes shot out from 17 different dimensional positions at once. The ship's main guns fired energy beams that could crack moons. Experimental weapons that had no names began to tear holes in space itself. The Dominion fleet's shields tried to absorb the assault, but the quantum frequencies did exactly what Dr. Yoon Seo had predicted. The alien shields turned against their own ships, creating chain reactions that jumped from vessel to vessel. In minutes, hundreds of Dominion warships were destroying themselves with their own defensive systems. The largest fleet in galactic history was tearing itself apart, and they could not understand why. Impossible, Supreme Admiral Vorthak whispered from his flagship's bridge.
How are they doing this?
He would never get an answer. The quantum chain reaction reached his ship, and the Dominion's greatest military leader died wondering how humans had become so dangerous. But the battle was far from over. The Baekdu had surprised the enemy fleet, but thousands of ships remained. Now they knew what they were facing, and they were adapting their tactics. Incoming missiles, Jamin warned. Thousands of them. Let them come, Hyun-Ki replied. Seong-ho, show them what this ship can really do. The Star Destroyer began to move in ways that violated every law of physics the Dominion understood. It dodged missiles by stepping between dimensions. It attacked from multiple positions at once. It moved through space like a ghost made of quantum energy and human rage. The greatest space battle in galactic history had begun, and the Dominion was learning a terrible truth. They had studied human military tactics for decades, but they had never understood the most important lesson. Humans were most dangerous when they had nothing left to lose. The space around Proxima Centauri burned with the light of dying ships. What had once been the graveyard of humanity's first interstellar colony was now becoming the graveyard of the Dominion's greatest fleet. But Supreme Admiral Vorthak's remaining forces were adapting, and the battle was far from over. Sir, Jamin reported from his tactical station, we've destroyed 800 enemy ships, but they're changing their strategy. They're spreading out to avoid the quantum chain reactions. Captain Hyun-Ki watched the surviving Dominion vessels reform into smaller groups, each staying far enough apart to prevent the shield cascade failures that had devastated their fleet. The aliens were learning just as they always had. They're smart, Hyun-Ki admitted, but not smart enough. Dr. Yoon Seo looked up from her science console, her eyes bright with discovery. Captain, I've been analyzing our quantum core readings. The energy buildup is beyond anything we designed for. We're not just manipulating space-time anymore, we're rewriting it. Explain, Hyun-Ki ordered. The Genesis Protocol, Yuncio said quietly. The theoretical framework we developed but never tested. The quantum core has enough power to activate it. Yuna stopped her frantic work at the engineering station. Captain, the Genesis Protocol was banned for good reason. It doesn't just bend the laws of physics, it can replace them entirely in a localized area. How localized? Hyunki asked. Maybe a few light years, Yuncio replied. Within that space we could make physics work however we want. Gravity could flow backward. Energy could become matter. Time could run in circles. Ji-hoon, the ship's quantum physicist, had been listening from his station near the reactor core. He was a quiet man who understood mathematics better than most people understood breathing. The risks are enormous, Ji-hoon warned. If we activate Genesis, we might not be able to control it. We could accidentally destroy ourselves along with the enemy. What about them? Hyunki asked, pointing at the tactical display where 2,000 Dominion ships were regrouping for another assault. They would be completely helpless, Ji-hoon admitted. Their weapons and shields depend on the current laws of physics. If we change those laws, you do it, Hyunki decided. Activate the Genesis Protocol. Throughout the ship, 50,000 humans felt the Baekdu begin to change around them. The quantum core's energy flowed through every system, every corridor, every atom of the great vessel. Reality itself started to bend in ways that had no name. The Dominion fleet attacked again, firing energy beams and missiles that had destroyed countless worlds. But as their weapons approached the Baekdu, something impossible happened. The laws of physics within several light years of the human ship simply stopped working the way they were supposed to. Dominion energy beams turned into harmless light shows. Their missiles became butterflies made of solid metal. Their ship's engines began pushing them backward instead of forward. The aliens found themselves trapped in a region of space where nothing worked the way it should. "By the void," whispered the new Dominion commander, watching his weapons turn into flower petals as they fired. "What kind of monsters are these humans?" Captain Hyun-ki stood on the bridge of his impossible ship, watching 2,000 enemy vessels helplessly drift in space where the laws of reality obeyed human will instead of natural. "Order. Open a channel. To all Dominion ships," he ordered. Hee-jin established the connection, and Hyun-ki's voice carried across the twisted space to every alien vessel. "Attention, Dominion fleet," he said calmly. "You came here to finish what you started. You wanted to erase humanity from the galaxy. Instead, you have discovered something important. On 1,000 alien bridges, reptilian and insectoid commanders listened to the human captain with growing terror. Humans don't just adapt to hostile environments, Hyun-ki continued. When we need to, we can change the environment itself. You studied our tactics, our psychology, our military innovations, but you never understood our greatest strength. He paused, looking out at the enemy ships that drifted helplessly in space where physics had been rewritten by human will. We refuse to accept that anything is impossible, Hyun-ki finished. Surrender now, or learn what happens when humans stop playing by the universe's rules. The response came quickly. Ship after ship transmitted surrender codes. The largest military fleet in galactic history had been defeated not by superior numbers or better weapons, but by the simple human refusal to accept defeat. Word of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within hours, Dominion commanders throughout their territory were receiving impossible reports. A single human ship had defeated 3,000 vessels without destroying them. Instead, the humans had simply made it impossible for the aliens to fight. On worlds across the galaxy, enslaved species looked up at the stars and whispered a single word: hope. Minseo had been the Baekdu's communications officer before the long sleep. Now she found herself promoted to admiral, commanding a fleet of surrendered Dominion vessels. The aliens had turned their ships over to human control rather than face whatever the Genesis Protocol might do next. "Sir," Minseo reported to Captain Hyun-ki, "we're receiving surrender transmissions from Dominion governors across 17 star systems. They're asking for terms." "No terms," Hyun-ki replied. "Unconditional surrender or we visit them personally." The surrender requests turned into a flood. Within days, entire sectors of Dominion space were laying down their weapons. The news spread that humans had not just returned, they had returned with power beyond understanding. Na-young, the ship's diplomatic officer, found herself overwhelmed with messages from liberated worlds. Dozens of species that had been enslaved by the Dominion were sending representatives to the Baekdu. begging for humanity's protection. Captain, Young reported, the Tauri Confederation wants to join a human protection alliance. So do the Veltar Republic, the Nexus Collective, and 43 other governments. They're offering tribute, trade agreements, military support, anything we want. Hyun-Ki looked at the holographic map that now showed the rapidly collapsing Dominion. Red areas were turning blue as world after world switched sides. The galactic balance of power was shifting faster than anyone had thought possible. What do we want? He asked himself quietly. Sunho's voice crackled over the communication system from Kepler 442b. The resistance leader was standing in the former Dominion governor's palace, surrounded by freed human slaves. Captain, Sunho said, the labor camps are empty. 3,000 humans liberated on this world alone. They're asking what comes next, what comes next. The question that every human in the galaxy was asking. They had achieved the impossible. They had not just survived extinction but had turned defeat into total victory. Now they faced a choice that would define the future of the galaxy. Hyun-Ki walked to the observation deck and looked out at the captured Dominion fleet. Thousands of alien ships now flew under human command. Their former crews worked alongside human officers, learning what it meant to serve a species that refused to accept limitations. Sir? Sujin's voice spoke softly in his ear. You have a decision to make. What kind of galaxy do you want to build? The Dominion ruled through fear, Hyun-Ki said slowly. They conquered, enslaved, and destroyed. We could do the same. We have the power now, but, the AI prompted. But that's not who we are, Hyun-Ki finished. Humans don't conquer for the sake of conquest. We protect. We explore. We build. He activated the ship's communication system, broadcasting to every human vessel, every liberated world, every species that had asked for humanity's protection. People of the galaxy, Hyun-Ki began. The Dominion is finished. Their reign of terror is over. But this is not humanity's victory alone. This is a victory for every species that refused to give up hope. Throughout the galaxy, billions of beings listened to the human captain's words. We will not become the new Dominion, Hyun-Ki continued. We will not rule through fear or oppression. Instead, we offer something different. Protection for those who need it. Justice for those who have been wronged. And a guarantee that no species will ever again face extinction while humans draw breath. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Governments that had hidden from the Dominion for decades emerged to join the new alliance. Species that had fought each other for centuries put aside their differences to work with humanity. The galaxy that had tried to erase humans was now begging them for leadership. 6 months later, Captain Hyun-Ki stood on the bridge of the Baekdu as it approached the construction site of humanity's first protectorate station. The massive structure would serve as both a defense platform and a symbol, proof that the galaxy's new guardians were here to stay. Construction is ahead of schedule, Yuna reported. The alien engineering teams are working well with our people. Turns out everyone wants to build something instead of destroying it for a change. Around them, the bridge bustled with activity. Humans worked alongside aliens who had once been their enemies. Former Dominion officers served as advisors on galactic politics. Scientists from dozens of species collaborated on projects that would benefit everyone. Sir, Mireille called from her station. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Sector Command, Earth Sector Command? Hyun-Ki asked, confused. Yes, sir. The survivors from the outer colonies have established